Hey, folks, we're back with the Roy West Show, and I have with us State Representative Dade Phelan in the House. And today is April 21st. This is airing on the radio show April 26th. And we always record early, but given these current days, I figure it's really important because some of the things we are talking about are somewhat topical and things do change from day to day. But first of all, State Representative Phelan, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, I know you've been you've been out there a lot and helping getting the word out. And this is certainly so many layers to all this because it's new for everybody. But from the governor's office, your office, county judges, mayors, everybody trying to figure this out together and stay on the same page and do what's best for the public in a time that's certainly new for all of us. So kind of give us your, if you would, 5,000-foot view of how the last few weeks have been running for us.
Sure. So there's obviously not a plan for this. There's nothing in the playbook. We know how to do hurricanes. We know how to do floods in other areas of the states. We know how to do tornadoes. We know how to do, massive fires like we had last drop a few years ago. We've been through that. We've been able to plan for them, have strategic goals set up of how we can get everybody back to business, back into school. It's just the opposite this time. We don't really have a pandemic plan. It's been about 100 years since we went through something like this. And so not any of our lifetimes have we ever experienced this. Then you, instead of telling folks, we want to get your utilities up and running, we want to get your water up and running, we want to get the debris out of the road so you can get back to work, we're saying, stay at home and watch TV and stay away from your loved ones and don't go to school and only do essential tasks when you do leave, your home. It's very bizarre. It's very uncomfortable. Obviously, I think it's helped us get to where we are now, which is in a pretty good spot. The governor, again, you said today is Tuesday. I look at my watch, 21st. I couldn't tell you if it was Monday or Sunday or Wednesday. But he's having a press conference right now with another, I hope, list of items that may be available to the public, whether the services and what he may deem more essential that maybe wasn't essential yesterday. And by the way, the essential, people get really upset about not being deemed essential. Those are not state guidelines. Those are not county or city municipal guidelines. The federal government decides what is an essential employee through the Department of Labor, and that dictates how the state, decides what's essential, and the local governments as well. Again, this is a state-by-state deal. There are some, the federal government at one point thought that they ruled all the states. That's not the case. Each governor will decide when they're open and when they're closed. And that's a good thing because New York is having a problem, a very big problem. But we have 254 counties in Texas. Vast majority of them, they're not having a healthcare crisis. There are beds. There are ventilators. There are healthcare workers. We have not been overwhelmed here, which is a great thing. And, you look at Wyoming, virtually non-existent there. Now, that's not saying because maybe they should test more, but you're not seeing deaths either. So maybe they can start having haircuts. I need one. Maybe they can start having haircuts sooner rather than later. Maybe they can, start opening up some small businesses, because what I find infuriating is that Walmart, you can go buy shoes at Walmart and a tomato plant at Walmart, but you can't go to the local nursery and buy a tomato plant. You can't go to your local shoe store and buy a pair of shoes. It's not right. We're picking winners and losers here. And there's going to come to a point throughout this crisis and maybe the next crisis. Who knows? This may be a new hurricane type season where we start seeing. I don't know. If it happened once, it can happen again, right? Right. So we've got to come to the point where you have to personally decide your own, strengths and vulnerabilities. If you have a pre-existing condition, maybe you need to stay at home longer. If you are undergoing any type of medical treatments that may compromise your immune system, maybe you need to stay at home longer. But if you're someone who is healthy, does not have pre-existing conditions, you've got a small business, accounting firm, small manufacturing facility, a shoe store, like I said, a nursery, which is mostly outdoors, you should be able to go and reopen your business wear a PPE, wear a mask, a face shield if you feel that's what you need to do. Maybe require I was in Austin yesterday. Every business you go into, you have to have a PPE on. You cannot go in there without one. And of course, they're offering all the curbside services and deliveries as well. That's probably going to occur for some time, but there's no reason why I think why you should not be open and allow individuals to really give them a fighting chance, because when we get out of this, we've got ourselves an oil and gas problem that is not going away for a very long time. You saw the news yesterday.
Yes.
People were basically paying to oil and gas suppliers to not deliver the product. So I tried to explain to my wife, it would be like ordering a pizza a month ago, paying full price for it. But then when it came time to deliver the pizza, you actually paid them not to give you the food because you had nowhere to put it.
Right.
That's where we're at right now. That huge surplus of oil and gas is not going anywhere. It will continue to glut the market for a very long time, as long as Russia and the Middle East are in this war over production.
Right.
Texas will be caught in the middle. So as we emerge from this healthcare crisis, you're going to have small businesses feel the effect of the oil and gas crisis. You're going to have my job in Austin writing a state budget that is predicated upon oil and gas being at about $53 a barrel. It was -1 yesterday. All right. If that continues for a very long time, your transportation projects will be impacted, your public education will be impacted, higher education, your healthcare, public safety, your prison systems, they're all going to have massive cuts because there's just, and you can't raise taxes in an era where people, when 1 in 10 are unemployed. We're probably looking at double-digit unemployment, and actually Southeast Texas, where it has the second highest in the state right now, post COVID-19. So we got a lot of cascading issues, but the best way to solve them is to get back to business as soon as we possibly can in a respectful, productive, efficient manner. Well,
and that's going to make your job really interesting, because right now most people are just thinking about getting out of this COVID-19 pandemic, but in terms of dealing with the economic challenges that are going to be presented from this, and certainly here in Southeast Texas, we know we've benefited at times from being a little bit buffered because having the petrochemical industry right here, but when they're taking a direct hit, it's a direct hit in our own backyard as well.
It absolutely is. And we don't have the big highs and the big lows, big swings in markets. I mean, I'm in real estate. You're in the real estate space. There's an office in this office space, for instance, in Southeast Texas going for $50 a square foot. That's just not the case. It's more like 12, right? Well, you got to think about what that's going to do, what this will do to like Houston and Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, when you've had a workforce that would have been working from home for 90 days. They did, and maybe they're still just as efficient. I think you're going to see, and I know for a fact, because I've already talked to some of these brokers in the larger cities, that their tenants are saying, coming to them and saying, well, you know what? We have 5,000 square feet right now. I obviously don't need it. I need about 1,500, and I'm paying $50 a foot. I'm going to give you 20, and you're going to take it, or it'll be empty. And so you're going to see a massive price correction, I think, in the real estate world. That will trickle down to homes, obviously, as folks are unemployed. They can't pay their mortgage. They can't pay their rent in the apartments. So it's going to be a very rocky summer. Even as we get back on our feet, it's going to be a very rocky summer. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the human trends of how folks say, you know what, I don't need to make that 2-hour commute to downtown Houston. I can work from home, and they don't have to give me a janitor, and I don't have to have a electricity bill and a parking space and a desk. I can do it all from my house and be just as productive. That'll be interesting to see how that changes, and how curbside and delivery, how that changes really the retail space too. This is definitely what you would call a disruptor as far as human activity goes going forward. So, yeah, it's going to make my job a lot more difficult in the legislature. But, the governor has got a lot of decisions on his shoulders, and I don't envy that. I'm not going to second guess him. I'm going to let him make those decisions because he has more information than I do. He has weekly, if not bi-weekly, tri-weekly phone calls with all the county judges because they're the executive directors in their counties, and of course the mayors are the executive in their cities. It's really not my call to say open tomorrow or not open tomorrow. I would like to respectfully ask the governor to do all he can to move that schedule up as fast as he can without compromising public safety. I think we're in a good spot here in Texas, and I think we need to take advantage of the fact that we've got a huge state, a lot of distance, and we have not seen a huge hot spot anywhere in Texas with the exception of maybe Dallas.
Well, this is great news. Well, it's challenging news, but we're coming up on a break here. So I'm going to have to say thanks so much for coming on today.
No, I appreciate you anytime. I'd love to come back and give another update as we get through this crisis. We're going to come back stronger. Southeast Texas always does. This isn't our first time to do this. I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate your service.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Right.
God bless.
You got it. Take care.